Hi, I'm Eliza Foli. I came to the farm in 2022 as a Terracorps member. I worked with the youth programs and community engagement. I lived in the tiny house when it was on the property and helped out with the farm animals and farm management on the weekends. Kind of a little bit of everything around the farm. I do remember coming to the farm for the first time. I was driving straight from another AmeriCorps position out in Colorado. So going across the country and then to Massachusetts um, for my first time being in New England, really. And, coming through all the small towns and then down the bumpy farm driveway and pulling up as all of, the farm activity was going on. And then Casey kind of gave me a tour around and I had a bouquet of zinnias in the tiny house that somebody had picked for me. And I was like, wow, what is this interesting little corner that I have been um, just dropped into? So that was really cool. First few days, I got introduced to all of the animals. That was my first time working on a farm with livestock. So got to see how to take care of the chickens and the rabbits. And we had the cows then. So it was all very new and exciting. Yes, lots of big developments. While I was there, I unknowingly came in, kind of in a state of transition because the barn fire had happened earlier that year, I think. So everyone was still kind of reeling from that and adapting to how the farm was different now, and they didn't know what was going to happen in the future. Um, so I kind of saw things get built back up in some respects, got to help out with a lot of like aesthetic improvements with new signs and trying to organize the market stand a little bit more. And since visiting this past year when I was living in Massachusetts again, it was really nice to see, the new barn is beautiful. And then there's still some signs with my handwriting on them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's still here. And then just, the improvements that have been made, like the fencing that the teamwork crew built so that visitors can see the animals easier, but it's also safer for the animals. Just a lot of things that make farmers' lives easier and the visitor experience, more accessible and better flow. So yeah, that's really nice to see. It is wild to think back on the year since I came in kind of end of summer, so still got the summer, crazy crop season and then into the fall and then the winter and taking care of the animals in the winter on the ice and having to heat up the water poles to get water for the animals. And then the spring and the sugaring season. So it was a lot of brand new things for me. So it feels like a very big year when I think back to everything. But then, of course, also all of the kids' programs while that was going on. So I think, yeah, working with the whole ages, like the whole, preschool through high schoolers, and then some of the adults in the crafting events that we did, which were fun. But seeing the kids just like out in their snowsuits in the winter, I think is the classic like winter memory, having so much fun just running around. And that was when we came up with freezing the ice cubes with colored water, and then we would hide them in the snow and make like the treasure hunt. So that was a big step up in the winter because, we're kind of like, what are we supposed to do out here? I always remember I got really good at building campfires because there were many, times when the sun would set at 4 p.m. and we had a program with a few kids and, now it's dark and we're in the snow and I'm trying to make a campfire and the kids are like, is it going yet? And I'm like, please give me a second. But yeah, that was always really fun. I think, yeah, aside from everything that actually, was part of my job on the farm, also just like the sense of community with the community lunches, with like farmers from around the area coming and just people who had been involved on the farm, that stood out to me from when I first started. Um, because, it was different than other farms I had been on where I'm like, oh, this is really a community hub. Like people are coming here just because they value the space and have memories here and care about the place. So that was really special to me, also being like somebody transplanted from moving all around the place and spending a lot of time on the farm, to just kind of be dropped into this little farming community. That was really special. Working with the kiddos is always an adventure. See, probably, just working with kids who either were scared of some of the animals or didn't want to do certain farm tasks. So it was an adventure trying to adapt the programs for each age to get them engaged with what we were doing and make it, safe for the animals, but also exciting for the kids to be able to engage with the animals. So like preschoolers taking care of the chickens was a lot different than high schoolers taking care of the chickens. But not everyone, of all ages, most people don't want to be involved with the animal poo so much. So that was always an adventure. But it was fun trying to get kids who, maybe didn't like the turkeys because they thought they were dirty to build a sense of respect for the turkeys and actually take care of them and be able to engage with them in different ways. So that was a good challenge as an educator, trying to think outside of the box how to get high schoolers excited about cleaning out the turkey house and understand why that's important. Hopefully take away, some lasting respect for farming and farm animals and what goes into all that. Probably just like how much can be done in such a small space because it is a very compact farm, smaller than other farms I had been on in the past, but with more happening. Seeing how we were able to make, education programs and visitors able to visit, during open hours and actually produce a lot of food and have a CSA and have all of these variety of animals, was pretty impressive with such a small staff. So I think kind of getting the experience of seeing how the business works on the business end, as well as being out in it with the programs and the visitors and kind of the changing of animals coming in and going out and building new, improving what infrastructure we already had. That was a really unique experience that, yeah, I definitely have drawn on since my time has ended on the farm. So I may be biased as one of the educator staff, but I think, just having such a variety of programs and ways that people can engage with the farm, even if it's just, coming to visit every week, um, with, your caretaker, your parent, while you happen to be in the area. I think that was one of the things that stood out for me, especially in the older programs, like kids who said they'd been coming for forever or working with coworkers who had been coming to the farm when they were a kid and that's why they worked on the farm, or community members, who had been coming to the farm forever. So I think just having it be so accessible meant that there were so many like lasting impacts that it could make throughout the community. And I've even met people, when I was working in kind of the more city Boston area that knew the Natick farm or had grown up going there or went there on one school field trip and remembered like seeing the turkeys or something like that. So I think just the way that it's set up, yeah, makes a lot of lasting memories. One does come to mind. This was back when we had the cows. So we had the two cows living on site. And I'm not sure, exactly how this happened. Um, but it was one early morning, and I left the tiny house to go visit the compost toilet, as one does in the morning. And I heard the big truck from Yoder coming down the road to go put some more cabbages or something in the root cellar. And I start hearing like some voices. So I'm like, oh, he must be trying to get my attention or something. So I come out of the compost toilet and Yoder's walking up past the greenhouse. He's like, is one of the cows supposed to be in the front meadow? I'm like, no. This was like maybe 7 a.m., or something. Nobody else is on site yet. And so him and I get into action mode immediately. He's like, the black cow is out in the front, just eating lettuce. And I'm like, okay, we got to get the cow back in the gate. We don't know how it managed to get out, whatever happened. So we run down to the storage shed. We're like, let's get the grain in the bucket. We'll, shake it for the cow and just try to get it back into its place. And so by the time that we had gone there, gotten the grain, we're going back down, running as we can early in that morning. And by the time we get down to the front meadow, the cow had walked into one of the other gated areas. So it had just come back from the ungated crop area, finished with its lettuce, and walked into the other front meadow. So we just closed the gate and we're like, well, that's good enough for now. We'll wait until livestock manager gets on site and then she can put him back next door. So all was well. It was a cow's fun little field trip out to the crop fields and safely back into the meadow. So many wonderful people at the Natick farm. Um, I guess I would say from the beginning, working with Dylan on the farm, he was working as a farm hand when I was there, and he was probably, the person who made me feel the most welcomed when I was doing farm work with them out in the fields. And then, sitting with me at lunch and telling me his experience on the farm and kind of helped me understand, since he grew up going to the farm, um, the role of the farm in the community. Of course, Abby Beiser, while she was the caretaker on the farm, really helped me get the lay of the land and was my little family unit there on the farm since we were both there. Catherine Sullivan, when she was on the farm, she was really great working with me on my Terracorps project, and we kind of spearheaded some things for the education programs together, and did some co-teaching with her, which was really lovely. And it's been great to see her evolve in her farm journeys too after the farm and her lambing season this year. So I know she took some inspiration from the farm as well. Um, but so many lovely people. Terracorps is like a special branch of AmeriCorps service, and a lot of positions seem to be focused on the East Coast. And it's all centered around like stewardship, youth or community engagement, or education, or more kind of hands-on agricultural work. So it's kind of more tailored AmeriCorps experience for people who want to work at nonprofits or smaller organizations throughout the community. I know there's Terracorps positions at the Audubon Broadmoor site right down the road from Natick, which I got to kind of talk to that person and um, talk about our projects together, which was cool. So that was, yeah, a great way for me to just get placed in a role, on the East Coast where I wanted to go and work, develop my own project revolving around community engagement and youth education, and have some resources through AmeriCorps and Terracorps for training on education. And what else do we train on? I guess it was mostly education. Yeah, but kind of a flexible role to be able to take what you're interested in and follow that a bit more. So I kind of focused on reviving the Instagram while I was there, that before you came on had been lying dormant for a long time. So got that kind of back up, and the aesthetic changes. I was more focused on the community engagement piece. And kind of, yeah, since I was teaching the programs, that was my education part. And then did some of the community events with adult engagement, which was really fun. Yeah, so just a great way for people to get involved and learn more in a role that's not super, strict, able to develop your own thing. I guess just keep on keeping on. I'd love to see even more like infrastructure improvements that make farmers' lives easier and animals' lives easier, and just make it, help spread the word even a little bit more. Um, yeah, it's been great to see the bustle around the new barn, and the new greenhouse space is really exciting. That's going to make it easier for programs to get involved with seeding and um, make that a lot easier. Yeah, it would be awesome to have the blueberry fields reinvigorated. I'm not sure if that's ever going to happen, but that would be cool. Um, yeah, just keep progressing as it has been. I think it's been awesome to see animals, you know, just having a great place to be and people be able to interact with them. So as we continue to improve the efficiency and accessibility of that, it'll be really cool to see what happens.